So before we end tonight, we're going to kind of quickly go through a Ohio tax deed auction, Lucas County. Ohio's really kind of in some ways a forgotten state. I don't think there's a lot of people talking about it as much as they probably should, because there's a lot of different counties, and some counties are still holding on-site auctions with their tax sales. But a lot of them are putting those auctions online. Sometimes they will go ahead and have the tax sale on a different day. Some of the counties will go ahead and list them with their mortgage foreclosure. So it's a little bit confusing like that. But once you figure out, how that county has their list, then there's a lot of good opportunity in Ohio auctions.
In fact, so we're going to go and take a look at that. And by the way, some of you that have had really good questions here, we are going to answer those questions here in just a moment. There's a really good question here that we're going to get back to in a second. But yeah, we're going to take a moment here to go and check out some of these Ohio sales. And here we go. Oh, actually, maybe I'm on the wrong thing here.
Are you on the coaching? I'm not the coaching, the podcast one.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see here. Oh, pre-sale review. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing here. There we go. Okay.
Really, it was just kind of going through most of the top ones there.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's doing that thing again. Let's see if we can get to reload. There we go. If you're ever having problems with one of these real auction sites loading for you, just do the quick reload on it. A lot of times they have some kind of an issue where they get caught in and they won't quite fill the information out. But if you hit reload, a lot of times it'll fix the issue. All right, so let's take a look here at some of the properties we've got. This property right here, that's opening bid is 20,000. It looks like, and we can see it has an address here for it. It looks like a full address as well.
Yeah, and this auction isn't anything special. They hold in Lucas County. They hold auctions every single month. I just kind of grabbed, just one of the counties at random before here, and just kind of quickly looked at each one of them. So we'll look into them a little bit more and figure out, which ones may be good deals, which ones may not. But there is a huge amount of opportunity within Ohio through their tax deed auctions.
Yeah, so this one looks like it is a single family home here in Ohio, and the image is from August of 2023, so it's about 3 years old is the time frame that we're looking at here. Let's
Looks like a
see.
nice little street, though. I mean, the neighborhood.
Yeah, it looks really nice. Definitely a great place to have a rental property here. And the property itself, it looks like it's, yeah, I mean, in need of some work, but it's a pretty good little rental property here. Let's see what it's valued at. If we can get a number on that.
Or even as a flip.
Let's see. So Zillow puts it at 147 and renting out at 1680 a month. It built in 83, so it's not that old. Let's see if Redfin tells us anything different. 116. So really, yeah, Zillow's higher on it here. Redfin doesn't have a lot of information on it.
I think they're pulling that. I think the assessed value is at 116.
That makes sense here. So at 147,000, with it starting at 20,000, it's opening up for about 15% of value roughly. Certainly there's room on a property like this here to bid it up.
And we do an on-site evaluation. But like Shade said, it built in 83. Looked like the home next to it, was probably built around that same time frame. Not a bad little neighborhood, and we could look into it, but should be plenty of good potential on it.
Yeah, so that one's starting at 20,000. Here's one for 37 that also has a full address here. Let's see what it is.
And some of these we might actually even avoid. That's what we'll check a little bit more. I can't remember if this one might have had photos on it. If you looked at Zillow or Redfin.
We'll take a look here so we can kind of see where it's located at here. The house looks a little bit rougher, but it was being lived in here at the time of the image. I mean, the image is from June of 2024, so it's about 2 years old.
Well, you got to think about this is kind of the Toledo area, so you're going to get a lot of properties that are coming up in the tax sale that we may avoid. That's the reason we're kind of looking at ones like that first one, and this one, if it was for cheap enough, may be worth picked up. But
Yeah, so this one we can see that it looks like it's dry on the inside, and yeah, probably was being lived in here not too long ago. They valued it at about 97,000. Uh, and so, yeah, it's starting at a higher bid to value ratio. It's starting at about a third of value. So there's less profitability in this one, if something were to go wrong, and it's going to need some work too. So this is a riskier property by nature because it probably needs, 30 to $50,000 worth of work. Now maybe that would put the value of the property after repair. Maybe it would, be above that 97. Maybe it would be 120 or 130 after repair value. That's something we could look at. Maybe it's not totally risky, but it looks kind of risky with these numbers.
yeah, I mean, really, without an on-site evaluation, in this case, we might not even bid on it. So in this example, you kind of go through and look at sums that look like they could be worth going after, and then kind of doing an on-site evaluation saying, well, that one would be kind of on the borderline. We'd need to look a little bit more into some of the profit margins within the area to make a better idea. This wasn't the best auction, but it was the soonest one coming up in Lucas.
Yeah,
I,
well, and so this one I think starts at like 8,000. It is a house that we can see here. I think it's this house. Yeah, that's 1424. And same thing again where it's a decent neighborhood here. This is kind of the eyesore in the neighborhood. So let's see.
think it might have only been pulling the assessed value on it, but we can check.
Yeah, that's probably what we're going to see.
56,000. If you could pick it up, and a lot of these are sell for like opening bids amount, and so if you could pick it up for 8,000, let's say it's worth 60, it's really going to depend on the condition, because the profit margin is going to be a little bit lower there. But in this same auction, we've seen $200,000 or $300,000 homes that have been sold. In fact, I think we went over some a while ago. This is kind of interesting. There's a couple of interesting kind of commercial properties.
Yeah, so this one does look like what's this, 1416? Let's see.
I think it used to be a car lot, but they had like the whole garage and everything there set up. Like it was a used car lot.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting.
But you've got the garage. Somebody could use that as a car lot, or you could use it, use the garage for something, some type of repair business. You could fence it in and use it for towing and repo.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So that one starts at 35,000. I've got another one right here at 12,000. Sorry, most of these are homes or businesses, as we've seen. Yeah, another house here, and this one that starts at 12,000.
It looks like, well, you got a school across the way, or what
Yeah,
is
it
that?
looks like it. It looks like maybe a school. If that at 66. And 72 there on Redfin. So that one starts at 12. There could be room on that one.
Well, What's nice about Ohio is that, some of these counties have auctions every single month, and so some of them may have, well, some of them have 80 or 90, 100 properties every single month. And so what you'd be looking for is, let's say that we looked in Lucas County, would be looking to bid on, maybe a couple of properties each month. We could leave our deposit in there and just bid on the very best ones that we think are going to work. And let's say we acquire 3 or 4 properties a year there, then we've kind of set up a little power team within that area. We've got somebody that can drive by and take current photos of properties that we may be interested in. And
Yeah,
it allows us to use this Ohio as a location based investing state.
yeah. So this one starts at 69,000. It looks like this is some kind of restaurant or something that was opened up there for a while. We can't tell what kind of stuff it was, but it looks like that's the location here for us. We have an
Yeah.
interesting mix of properties anyway on this list, including a lot of homes and a couple of commercial properties we've seen here. Starting with some of the stuff is about 8,000 we've seen on most of these homes.
Well, and some of these may go to the land bank. In fact, I'm sure a lot of them do. So it could also be worth looking up, you know, them within the land bank and seeing what kind of land bank opportunities there was. I
Yeah,
looked in the Cleveland area a little bit before I looked in Lucas County, and Cleveland has a massive auction each month.
yeah. I'll bet there are some big sales happening, where there's a lot of opportunity. That house doesn't look too bad. This is not a bad neighborhood either.
Some of the property values are a little lower here, so it's going to be worth making sure it's in pretty good condition. And then also looking at the rental income on them as well, because sometimes some of these older homes, as long as they're in good condition, uh, within areas like that, maybe it's only worth 70 or 80,000, but it still rents out for $1,200 a month. So if you can put in 20 or 30,000 into it, and you start bringing in $1,200 a month, that's still going to pay for itself off within a few years.
And which sale do you want to click on here for Cuyahoga? At least I can see on here, page one.
I was looking at some of the properties on the 17th. I think they had an auction today. We could look through and see what the bidding looked like, or we can look at some of the other ones that came up.
Is the 17th right one to click on, or do
Yeah,
you want or the one today?
or we can look at one that sold today. It doesn't matter. You know, these were just ones if we needed extra time we could look at. And that one
Oh,
bid up a bit.
a bit of 35,000. Let's see what it is. So this one is a house. It looks like it's a duplex, I think, or
Yeah, it is at least a duplex. It may be a triplex.
yeah, that's not too bad.
I'm sure somebody's buying that and planning on turning it in, like making it into straight rental.
Yeah, but there is so for 5,000. So some of these are selling for opening bid amounts. This one sold for the opening bid amount. And yeah, so yeah, there are people that are just paying like minimum bids here to win houses. Yeah, I think that was probably occupied here at the time in 2022.
Yeah, tiny little thing.
Yeah, here's one
But
somebody paid up on this one.
if you lived within this area, or it could be even out of state investors, but this is where people can pick up homes for 5 or 10 grand, which we aren't going to always, say don't do, but it's important that we look into the condition of them.
Now, this is a commercial property of some kind here. I can't quite tell where it is at underneath the trees. Uh,
It's right next to the church, is it?
yeah, it does. It looks like it's right next to the church. So there's you've got some kind of a church, another building here, and then this whatever this is here that's a little bit back and out of the way.
It's right there to cross the street where the trees are all at. It's behind the trees. Maybe you got to go down the street a little more to the right. See if you can look back in there.
There's something back in there.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever it is, somebody paid up for it a bit, to
It's,
get it.
it's not that home, I don't think. Next to
No,
the
no, no.
church.
It's something back here. It's at least if what I'm looking at here, I think it's because I think this is the church here, and then the property just further back from that, and then yeah, and then the house that's back there. I think it's kind of like hidden in trees.
Yeah, looks like it.
But the rest of the stuff, so we have some of these are withdrawn tax delinquent. And we have one here that sold for 39. Let's see, this one sold to a third party. Let's see if they got a good deal on it or not. And yeah, this one's another house. It was being lived in here at the time. That's 2022 image.
That is right down, like, I guess it's the end of a one-way street, but it looked like it was kind of in a commercial area. I thought a
Yeah, it
little
is.
bit.
It is kind of in a commercial area.
Sometimes it's good to have property as rentals in that kind of area, kind of a commercial area close to where people might work.
Yeah, 115,000. So they paid up a bit here at 39,000. They must have wanted it, but still there's plenty of money in it. And there's all kind of interesting deals, and there is some bidding that's happening here, but what the bidding that does happen is not bidding up that high. At least, we're not seeing properties bid up. I mean, they open up at 11,000, sell for 24. So they do bid up, but I mean, we've seen properties start at 11,000 and sell for 200. So going up to 24 is really not that much at all in terms of the bidding. And this one's another house, I think. I think it's this one right here. Which is in pretty good shape, actually. I mean, in general, that's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, so look into Ohio. I mean, there's quite a few counties. I'm not quite remember exactly how many there is, but there's a big long list of them. So there's a lot of different counties that are holding the online auctions, and if you live close by, it's worth looking into the on-site auctions because the only people bidding at those are going to be the local investors, and a lot of the Ohio counties have land banks, which means that there's not enough investors there at the auction to purchase all the property. So you can also look into the land banks within there as well.
This is another really nice property. I mean, 01. I think it's just going to be this one right here. I think this one's going to be 005. And it looks like they picked it up for about 37,000. It opened up for 24. Another pretty good deal. Yeah, all of these. I mean, really. There are cases where people pay more than they need to, maybe to win certain properties, but the majority of them, you've got properties that are selling for a little over, what the opening bid amount is. They're not bidding up dramatically high.